Shalom, family. Today we're going to talk about something that is very important within the body, but something that is not always addressed the way it should be. This lesson is directed towards the women of Israel. As women who desire to walk in the ways of Yahweh, we must understand that righteousness is not only about what we do outwardly, but also the spirit we carry towards one another. The Most High has called His people to be set apart, and that includes how sisters interact with each other within the community. Many times in the world we see competition, jealousy, backbiting, and division amongst women. Society promotes comparison, pride, and gossip as a normal behavior. But as daughters of Zion, we are not called to walk in the ways of the world. We are called to walk in wisdom, humility, and righteousness. A true sisterhood in Yahweh is built on love, respect, and unity. It is a place where women uplift one another instead of tearing each other down, where encouragement replaces envy, and where peace replaces strife. When sisters walk together in righteousness, the entire community becomes stronger. But when envy, gossip, and division enter into the body, it creates confusion and weakens the unity that the Most High desires for His people. That is why it is so important to examine ourselves and understand the behaviors and attitudes that can cause division among sisters. In this lesson, we're going to explore what the scriptures say about envy, gossip, and strife. We'll also look at what true sisterhood should look like according to the word of Yahweh and how women can walk in wisdom and righteousness towards one another. Because being a righteous woman of Yah is not only about modesty, submission, or outward appearance, it is also about having a pure spirit, a disciplined tongue, and a heart that seeks peace within the body. So let's get into the scriptures and examine how women who fear Yah should conduct themselves. All right. We are going to start at Romans 12:10. Okay, now it wants to act crazy. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Romans chapter 12, verse 10. Be kindly affectionate one to another with brotherly love, in honor preferring one another. Now we're going to go down to Titus 2. Titus chapter 2, verse 3. We're going to read down to 5. The aged woman likewise, that they be in behavior as becometh holiness, not false accusers, not given to much wine, teachers of good things. Excuse me. That they may teach the young women to be sober, to love their husbands, to love their children, to be discreet, chaste keepers at home, good, obedient to their own husbands, that the word of Yah be not blasphemed. So this is giving us an example of what we should be doing. And when we don't walk this way, the word of Yah is blasphemed. We need to be the light no matter where we're at. This is what these scriptures are telling us. So, the dangers of gossip and slander, we are commanded to guide our tongues and avoid speech that destroys unity. Gossip and slander are serious sins that tear down sisterhood, cause division, and lead strife in households and congregations. We're going to see here in just a second that the scriptures repeatedly warn us about being busybodies, talebearers, or murmurers. So let's go to Leviticus. We're going to 19:16. Thou shalt not go up and down as a talebearer among thy people, neither shalt thou stand against the blood of thy neighbor. I am Yahweh. So here it is in the law, in the Torah, in the first 5 books, that this we shall not go down as talebearers among thy people, neither shalt thou stand against the blood of thy neighbor. So let's see what it is right here. First, let's see what it says: talebearer, slanderer, talebearer, informer. I believe we all know what a talebearer is. A tail packer is what I would say growing up. That's what they called it. And let's see what the blood is. Blood as that which when shed causes death. Oh, okay. Okay. Or a man or animal by the juice of the grape. Okay. Blood as that which when shed causes death. Okay, I think I get that. Against the blood, neither shalt thou stand against the blood of thy neighbor. So maybe it's saying, neither shalt thou stand against the bloodshed of thy neighbor. Let's click on neighbor. An associate. More than less close. Brother, companion, fellow, friend, husband, lover, neighbor. Friend, companion, fellow, another person. So this is somebody that you know very well. Now we're going to go to Proverbs 16 and 28. Proverbs 16, verse 28. A froward man soweth strife, and a whisperer separate chief friends. So let's click on this and see what it means. A perversity or fraud. Perverse thing. Let's read it one more time. A forward man soweth strife. So a perverse or fraudulent man sows strife, and a whisperer separateth chief friends. So let's see. Roll to pieces. A slanderer, talebearer, whisperer, to murmur, whisper. Okay. Let's also move down to 1 Timothy. 1 Timothy, and we're going to go to 5 and 13. All right, First Timothy 5, verse 13. And withal they learn to be idle, wandering about from house to house, and not only idle, but tattlers, also and busybodies, speaking things which they ought not. So this here, things that we ought not. Ought not be our identity. So, some of the key points from what we just went over is gossip and slander causes destruction and division amongst sisters. Yahweh commands, as we see, us to reject talebearing and whispering. A righteous woman is known for quietness, not spreading other people's matters. Guarding the tongue protects peace in the home and congregation and at work, in your garden club, wherever you are. Guarding your tongue will protect peace. Now we're going to move on to envy and jealousy among women. We're going to find this and see where we can find this in the scriptures. Because envy and jealousy are destructive spirits that destroy sisterhood and lead to strife, division, and even sin. Yahweh commands us to walk in love and humility, not in envy. The scriptures show that envy leads to evil speaking, backbiting, and even physical betrayal. As set apart women, we must guard our hearts from jealousy and rejoice when our sisters are blessed. So let's see what the scriptures will tell us. We're going to Proverbs 14:30. Proverbs 14:30. A sound heart is the life of the flesh, but envy the rottenness of the bones. That's pretty deep. That's pretty deep. A sound heart is the life of the flesh, but envy the rottenness of bones. Let's see what decay. Some of these words you think that here in the last few minutes they've been probably what we thought they were, but you never know how they translated it from Hebrew to English. All right, now we're going to go to James. Go to James 3 and 16. For where envy and strife is, there is confusion in every evil work. Ooh wee. That's deep. Let's read down to 17. But the wisdom that is from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, and easy to be entreated, full of mercy and good fruits, without partiality and without hypocrisy. And the fruit of the righteousness is sown in peace of them that make peace. Man, that is a stark difference. Envy and strife, there is confusion in every evil work. Now let's see what the Strong says the definition is. Properly heat, that is, zeal, in a favorable sense, in an unfavorable one, jealousy, as of a husband, figuratively of God, or an enemy, malice, emulation, envy, fervent mind, indignation, jealousy, zeal. Let's see what there's definition: excitement of the mind, zeal, and let's see about strife, faction, strife. Oh, huh? So you never know really once you click on these words what you'll find that they have. All right, now we're going to move over to Galatians. We're going to verse chapter 5, and we're going to verse 19. And we're going to read down to 21. Now the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these. These are, this about to tell you what the works of the flesh are: adultery, fornication, uncleanliness, lasciviousness, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, variance, emulations, wrath, strifes, sedition, heresies, envyings, murders, drunkenness, revilings, and such like of the which I tell you before, as I have also told you in time past, that they which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of Yah. Wow. Let's go over them one more time. The works of the flesh: adultery, fornication, uncleanliness, lasciviousness, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, variance, emulations, wrath, strife, seditions, heresies, envyings, murderers, drunkenness, revilings, and such of the like. Let's click on some of these. Let's see what hatred. because there's a lot of hateful people in the world. Hostility, by implication, a reason for opposition. Enmity, hatred. Uh, Variances. Let's check this one out. Of uncertain, quarrel, that is, by implication, wrangling, contention, debate, strife, variance. So it's kind of similar to hatred, emulations. Let's see what this is. Zeal. Um, let's see what it says for violence. Rioting. And I'm sure we know what this is, but let's see what it says just in case. Choice, that is, a party of disunion. Here, heresy is a Greek word itself, which is the Greek itself, sect. The act of taking capture, storming a city. All right, so some of the key points and what we just went over, the scriptures that we just went over. Envy is a sin that leads to strife and spiritual destruction. True sisterhood rejoices in one another's blessings, not jealousy. None of the things that we talked those in verses 19 and 20 and 21, you will not inherit the kingdom if that's your identity. Envy causes people to speak evil, break trust, and divide congregation. Yahweh warns that envy is the work of the flesh and blocks the kingdom. So, if you don't want the kingdom to be blocked out, blotted out of the kingdom, we need to be making sure none of these are our identity. I wanted to read down to 22. Um, Galatians 5, verse 22. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law. So those are very, very, very stark differences. And if you notice, the work of the flesh, all negative. Works of the flesh, negative. The fruits of the spirit, all positive. So when you're reading in the scriptures and you see works of the flesh, I'm not going to say every time that's what it means, because I've seen it a few times, and this is so for the most part, but I'm not going to say this is definite. But pay attention what comes before or after the phrase works of the flesh, and then fruits of the spirit. I've always seen this to be positive. Um, but like I said, don't take my word for it. Read it. Search for all the scriptures that have work of the flesh and fruits of the spirit to check ourselves that this is so. So you can say, yes, when you see works of the flesh, that means negative. Those are all the negative things. And those are the things that get you blocked from the kingdom. But when you see fruits of the spirit, it's all positive. This is what we should be looking like. All right, so we're going to move on and we're going to see what it looks like to build righteous sisterhood. Yahweh commands his daughters to love, encourage, and strengthen one another in righteousness. True sisterhood is built on kindness, correction and love, forgiveness, and unity. The scriptures teach us to uplift each other, to be examples of good works, and to avoid actions that cause division. A righteous woman helps build the house of Israel by supporting her sisters, not tearing them down. And we see to be a righteous sister amongst the sisterhood, amongst Israel, verse 22 down to 25, it's telling you what your spirit what you need to look like. And your fruits of your spirit needs to be love, joy, peace, long suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. And against any of those, such any of those, there is no law to say that thou shalt not walk in love, thou shalt not walk in joy, thou shalt not walk in peace. So, um, moving on to building a righteous sisterhood, we're going to start in Colossians. We're going to go to Colossians and we're going to go to 3. We're going to start at verse 12 and we're going to read down to 13. Colossians chapter 3, verse 12. Put on, therefore, as the elect of Elohim, holy and beloved vows of mercies, kindness, humbleness of mind, meekness, long suffering, forbearing one another and forgiving one another. If any man have a quarrel against any, even as Christ forgave you, also do ye. I'm going to keep on reading down. We're at verse 14. And above all these things, put on charity, which is the bond of perfectness, and let the peace of Yah rule in your heart, to the which also ye are called in one body, and be ye thankful. Be ye thankful for everything. Even in times of trial, you should be thankful. You should be thankful that Yah thought of you enough to put you to the test, to make sure that you're worthy, to get you prepared for even worse. Every test that you have is a test from Yah for you to get to the next level. And if you think it gets easier, or if you think you can bypass the test, there's one test that I've been battling for a long time. I have not figured out how to pass that test. So guess what? He keeps on putting that test in front of me. I'm blocking my own growth by worrying about everything else and figuring out everything else that I can't figure out this one test. And it's the same one. I've been through it a multitude of times, but I can never figure it out. And it's something simple. But in the heat of the moment, I can't figure it out. I can't figure it out. But y'all pray for me. I'm going to be working on it, trying to get myself right for the feast of unleavened bread, to get whatever needs to go away from me and to be a new creature so I can pass that test. All right, the next verse we're going to go to is 1 Thessalonians. Okay, 1 Thessalonians. Almost got lost for a second. We're going to chapter 5 and we're going to verse 11. Wherefore comfort yourselves together and edify one another, even as also ye do. And we're going to keep on reading down to 12. And we beseech you, brethren, to know them which labor among you and are over you in Adonai, and admonish you. We're going to keep on going down. And to esteem them very highly in love for their work's sake, and be at peace amongst yourselves. This is what we should be doing in the body of women. I'm just speaking for us women. I can't speak on the men and what they need to do. That's between them and y'all. The only thing I could do is talk to my husband, my son, and so on and so forth. But I'm speaking for us women. We should be supporting each other. That doesn't mean you have to watch every single video. You have to be on every single live. You have to be, you know, we have to be up in each other's face 24/7. We still have lives. We still have the other things that we have to do. We still have our personal walks. We still have our duties amongst in our not amongst but in our own homes, we have things that we have to do, but even just praying for one another, or thinking about one another, sending each other a text, hey, I was thinking about you, I just wanted you to know I was thinking about you, and I'm here if you need something. Be present when you can. As an adult, as adults, we all know life goes on, especially adults that have children, that have husbands, that have multiple jobs, whatsoever that draws your attention away. You can't always be physically present all the time, and we shouldn't expect each other to. We should just expect each other to love one another, um, in person, or um, you know outside of your being in front of each other. We should be praying for each other. We should be supporting when we can. Those things. So now we're going to go to Titus, and we're going to go to chapter 2, and we're going to go to verse 3. We're going to read down to 5. The aged woman likewise, that they be in behavior as becometh holiness, not false accusers, not given much to wine, teachers of good things, that they may teach the young women to be sober, to love their husband, to love their children, to be discreet, chaste, keepers at home. Did we already go over this one? No, we didn't. I think we did read this. Let me see. I think we did read this again, but that's okay. Maybe we didn't. Maybe I read it earlier. Okay, I'm sorry. We're going to read that again. Titus chapter 2, and we are going to start at verse 3. The aged woman likewise, that they be in behavior as becometh holiness, not false accusers, not given to much wine, teachers of good things, that they may teach the young women to be sober, to love their husbands, to love their children, to be discreet, chaste keepers at home. I cannot read for today for some reason. Good, obedient to their own husbands, that yet the word of Yahweh be not blasphemed. So in verse 5, we see, if we do opposite of what it says here, the word of Yahweh will be blasphemed, because we are saying that we're women of Yah. So if we're saying that we are women of Yah and we go out here and we act like daughters of the devil, you are blaspheming the Most High. So it's kind of like when the scriptures say, I'd rather for you to be cold or hot. You can't be in the middle. You can't be standing here saying, I'm a woman of Yah, and acting like the woman of the devil. No, he'd rather for you to act like the woman of the devil and say you're the woman of the devil. Or if you're going to say you're the woman of Yah, act like you're the woman of Yah. Pick a side. Don't walk the fence, the straddle the fence. Because that's just, to Yah, that's just as bad as being the daughters of the devil, saying you are and acting like you are. So some of the key points of what we just went over is righteous sisterhood is built through love, forgiveness, and correction in truth. If your sisters are not correcting you when you're wrong, they are not your sisters. It's like parents that don't correct their children are not good parents. If your sisters ain't don't have forgiveness, if they don't have love, they're not your sisters. You know them by their fruits. So if you have a sister who is always hateful, and that could be just, have an attitude, just be mean and nasty all day long for no reason. Why? Y'all woke you up this morning. Be thankful, be grateful, walk in love, walk in humility, in meekness, and everything that the scriptures tell us to walk in. That doesn't mean you have to be in a good, bubbly mood all the time, but be respectful to people. People understand some days you have bad days. So the next point, uplifting and teaching one another strengthens not just um, us as sisters, but your children, your husband. If your husband sees you walking right, let's just say he's a non-believer. Maybe you'll be the light that brings him over to being a believer, or your children, or your coworkers, or whatever, whoever's around you. A faithful sister is a spiritual blessing, not a rival. We should not be looking at each other like, okay, yeah, a couple of my friends have YouTube pages. I'll watch their videos, but I'm not looking at their videos and saying, "Oh, she got 17 more views than me. I got to do," or "She said this wrong. Let me correct her." Now we have all done that. Say, even though we should be correcting each other if we say something wrong, especially about the scriptures. But there's a way of going about it. If you can, and especially we all got Facebook. We all got. Some of us have each other's numbers. It could be something that you do, you know, with meekness, with love in mind. So, you don't have to embarrass them. You don't have to do any of that. We shouldn't be doing that. And we all guilty of that. And that needs to stop. And the last point on these things is Yahweh expects his daughters to help build, not destroy. That should be your question to yourself before you say something to one of your sisters or anybody. Is what I'm about to say going to help build, or is it going to destroy the person? And I don't mean like totally destroy the person in just this one word, but it could have been the 15th time you did it and they just like, I give up. I'm done. I'm over. I might as well walk in unrighteousness because this is stupid. You never know. So to conclude this whole lesson up, I want to say, as women walking in the ways of Yahweh, we are called to be an example of righteousness in both speech and conduct. True sisterhood is built on love, humility, forgiveness, and righteous correction. I can't say that enough. The scriptures clearly warn us against destructive behaviors like gossiping, slander, envy, and jealousy, and command us to walk in peace, unity, and kindness with one another. Well, I don't want you to go and watch it, but I'm sure most of us have seen the like for instance, any of the Real Housewives, the reality shows, the baddies, the bad girl clubs. Those are examples of what we should not be. That should not be your identity at all. So we're going to wrap it up with a couple of more scriptures, and then this is going to be the message that I have. We're going to go to Romans. We're going to go to 12, and we're going to go to verse 10. Be kindly affectionate one to another with brotherly love and in honor, preferring one another. So we should be preferring one another, and we should be walking in love and in honor. Then we're going to hit Psalms 133, and we're going to verse 1. Behold, how good and how pleasant is it for brethren to dwell together in unity. Oh, man. Man, that is beautiful. When everything is going, I'm not going to say everything's going to be perfect, but when you know you have your community behind you and there's peace and there's love and there's joy there, there's nothing like that feeling. And the last verse we're going to look at is Proverbs. We're going to 31:26. She openeth her mouth with wisdom, and in her tongue is the law of kindness. This should be us. This should explain us as women. I'm guilty of doing the total opposite, just saying stupid stuff to be me. And in my tongue is the law of wickedness. We've all been guilty of this, but we need to change it. We need to change it towards our husbands. We need to change it towards our friends, our coworkers. There should be no reason. It don't say, okay, yeah, you can get mad, and when you get mad, it's okay. No, it says she opened her mouth with wisdom. Whenever you open your mouth, wisdom should come out. and on your in your tongue is a law of kindness. So righteousness is our main objective. That's our goal, is to be as righteous as possible. Righteous sisterhood strengthens household, congregations, and the nation of Israel. By applying these commandments daily, even if you have to go over these scriptures to remind yourself, and I know a lot of times the number one thing that we do is get upset and just rage. And we should be stopping, thinking, praying. If you gotta, get away from somebody for a second, that's what you gotta do before you do something unrighteous. But applying these commandments daily will help restore order to our families and become living examples of light to our people. So, thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you, and shalom.